Hey, what's up, guys? Max here. Wanted to talk about a subject that's being discussed a lot lately, and it is the top defenders, annoying defenders, unavoidable defenders, damage dealing defenders that are in the game at the moment, right? So,
Rabbit season! Duck season! Rabbit season! Duck season! Rabbit season! Duck season!
or coming out at the moment. So, let's look at first some of the champions in 2023. So, as you can see here, here's a list of all the champions that came out. But let's also talk about maybe a unpopular opinion when it comes to why these top defenders are happening. And at least what I feel is the reason why this is happening. So as we look at the champions that are just kind of showing there. Now, this is not the updated version, meaning any champions that got updated buff when it comes to and made into like a really good defender. This is just a release of these champions. Now, let's start things off with Future Ant-Man first. He was considered is considered for me, a really annoying defender because one mix up of glancing and he ends up at 10 and look, you can't take him down at that point. It's going to be either going to time out, especially in areas of battlegrounds, and you're just going to get stunned and he's going to just attack you and you're dead. Okay. And he came out early in the year. So he was released in February. Now, the next, what I consider top defender. Now, here's another point, by the way. Any of these champions, depending on the meta, can be problematic. These can be annoying defenders. These you can take some damage, but a lot of the discussions are being meant is like, hey, well, I can avoid that damage by bringing X, Y, and Z, or his damage is unavoidable with skill. So most of the arguments are being made, and I see them is because, hey, regardless of how skilled I am, I cannot avoid that damage, right? Okay, so that makes Kindred the next, what I consider top defender in July. He came out in July, and he's one of the champions that Kabam came out and said, hey, this is a really hard defender. And I would say, I'm not that good of a player, okay? I think I'm a little bit above average, but not in the top 10%, top 20% of the player base. Maybe not the top 10, but maybe in the top 20. But when Kindred came out, I kind of figured that guy out immediately, and I was doing so good against him. Obviously, if you do a little bit of a mix-up, don't time his damage properly, you can lose, especially on the final 5%. You can lose all your health. But on average, he's not that crazy of a defender. But I'm putting him there because he's considered a defender. Now let's go on to the following month, August. This is where things really came out to be really nasty. Photon came into the game and she just broke everybody. She's unblockable. She cancels your willpower. She has a bunch of debuffs. She hits into your block like if you weren't even blocking. And then shortly after, Onslaught made it to the game. He, till this day, right now, 3 months later, he's a problem for me. This guy is a nasty problem that I went ahead and ascended my 6-star just because of how nasty he is, right? Not that many people have it figured out. Now, Maestro, we'll mention Maestro. Kind of came out in November, but you have to complete the content to get him as a 6-star or 7-star. Some people have actually ascended to 6-star that don't plan on completing Necropolis and rank them up. So there's that, right? And then shortly after we have Bullseye in January, and now we have Serpent in the month of March, and we don't even know what the Destroyer is going to be doing to the game at the moment. But let me rewind back, and this is one of the reasons why I think this is something that we are causing to ourselves or forcing Kabam to do. And it's not like we're bending their arm and saying you must do this, right? So, like I mentioned, back in July, we had the release of Kindred. Again, something that was considerably very difficult. A lot of the player base figured him out. I don't believe that Onslaught and Photon were the designs of a very tough defender Kindred and not being the defender he was meant to be or a result. I feel like Bullseye and any future defender are kind of like the results of that Future Ant-Man and Kindred. When it comes to hey, these are going to be top defenders or considerable good defenders. But the player base, the top 10%, figured them out. And Kabam sees, hey, the showcase of these top 10% players. Even if you go into the brackets where I lay in, which is in the top 20, I feel like we have figured these champions out, right? But that's not everybody else. Everybody else, the rest, the 80% of the player base has still difficulty times, sometimes with Future Ant-Man, with Kindreds, with Onslaughts, Photons, and are having a world of a hard difficulty time with Bullseyes and the Serpents at the moment. There is a different game that we play now. In 2024, as time keeps going on, as players get more skilled and become more knowledgeable, and information gets exposed more through sources like, community chats, forums, YouTubes, we see how to counter these champions, and most players can easily say, oh, okay, I see how you play around Onslaught. I can just copy paste what he did and do it myself. Now, it does require a little bit of skill, some finessing, but it's not something that is not doable because we see it almost every single day. There's a live stream of battlegrounds being made with nodes making it more complicated, or making defenders shine, or making even dual threat champions shine on defense in the game. So I think that is kind of what we're seeing now. We do have a forum post by Kabam Mike that talks about it. In that post, he talks about, hey, we're doing a little bit of a catch-up inside the game with the release of a lot of attackers, but not that many defenders from like the prior year. Maybe he didn't say the prior, but maybe I'm adding those words to him in the year of 2023. So we're doing a little bit of a catch up on it. So here in 2024, we're still only 3 months into it. We're seeing already really strong defenders in the front end of it. Whether that's going to continue, we don't know. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it will be, but for me, I see that MCOC has become a very challenging game. It's not a game that anybody can just pick up and play the most highest competitive battlegrounds, Alliance Master Wars, and be in the top competitive alliances out there in the world. It's not. It's something you're going to progress, and eventually you're going to go through stages of building your account, building your skill, building your knowledge. There's a lot of knowledge building that needs to happen, and even skill for this game to be played. It's crazy to think that this is just a mobile game and we all download it and it's available for everybody, for kids to download, but it's crazy to think how complex and difficult and very time consuming this game has become for a lot of players. But here we are, a bunch of us adults, kids playing this game. And yes, I think the need of these top defenders unfortunately needs to happen for us to be still excited about the game and find it interesting to figure out counters, even though we don't have the appropriate counters, but counters to these top defenders. It's a rough time. It's happened in the past. This is something we've seen also in the past many times. Kabam always does this, builds these top defenders, builds a answer to the defender. And it's a business model that I don't know about the mobile gaming world, but I would assume that's kind of built into the gaming world because that is the only way to sell these pixels. Build something difficult, and then a month, 2-3 months later, build the answer to that difficulty. You're going to get punished by doing it ahead of the time or using other champions that are not ideal, but then you're going to get rewarded if you wait. So let me know your thoughts on this, guys. I know, like I said, it's probably not the opinion or best, favorable opinion you're looking out there. Yes, there are tough defenders. Yes, they're annoying. But I think with time, it's just we're going to have counters. And it sucks, but it's always fun. And it's if you look at it as a journey and a way of like figuring out other ways to counter these top defenders, by the time that we get the answer for these, you're going to be super skilled and you're just going to have so many answers to these what they consider top defenders now in game that you're just going to nuke everything. But then what fun is it when you're nuking everything in the game? Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think about this. I know this is a topic of huge discussion across the board from different opinions on this one, but majority are on the side of that, hey, Kabab, easy up on the defenders. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.
But it does contain the unstoppable Exodia.
Impossible!